Hi, I'm Marcus, and welcome to the License to Kill podcast, where pest control professionals meet cutting-edge expertise, industry insights, and a whole lot of camaraderie. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting your journey as a PMP, this podcast dives into everything that makes our industry tick. From advanced techniques and groundbreaking products to hilarious field stories and the real talk about the challenges we face in our industry. Join us as we explore the science, art, and community behind pest control, celebrating the people who work tirelessly to keep our world safe, healthy, and pest-free. As always, stay sharp, stay connected, stay legendary. Let's start the show. Welcome to today's episode, everybody. We're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to actually talk about me, the host, and a little bit about my background. Give you a chance to learn about who I am and maybe dive into the podcast along the way and why we're doing what we're doing. Today we're going to be talking with my wife, Samantha, otherwise known as Lady Niami, and she's going to be interviewing me today about some of our common questions and a little bit about who I am.
I guess let's go ahead and start with how long have you been in the industry and what got you into it?
So recently I just celebrated my 10 years with the company that I've been with here in the Northwest Houston area. Just a little over 11 years total in the industry. I'm a technician by trade, technician by day, and I mostly focus on food handling facilities and a lot of specialty audited accounts, and along with pretty much anything that requires some kind of specialty access, clearance, safety, PPE, or background check. Those tend to be the accounts that I excel at the most.
What got you into it?
Oh man, talk about a long story. We could try and keep it short for the podcast, but I had a childhood that was speckled with pest control, it seemed like, all along the way. Had family members and my own personal household. It seemed like by the time I graduated high school, I had ran into just about every major pest problem you can have. Everything from bats and fleas and bed bugs to mice and rats and the rest. But ultimately, what I think got me into pest control was a couple of really impactful moments when I was younger. Starting when I was 12, my oldest brother, got a job working for the Big O, and it was right around the time that the GameCube had just came out. And so to my 12-year-old mind, it was the coolest thing in the world seeing him get his own place and have a take-home truck and have a brand new game console with a new TV and the works. And at that time, I thought, wow, like, this has got to be the coolest job in the world. It wouldn't be until many years later when I was in high school, I ended up getting a form of a tumor in my left knee, and it drastically changed the direction of where I was going to go with my career. And instead of moving into the military, I decided to start focusing on academics, neurology, and neurochemistry. And at the time, I thought about going into pest control to kind of complement that field. And it wasn't until about 6 months into my first sales job working for the Big T that I ran across a termite sales inspector who was incredible. And this guy, he could sell termite treatments. And I needed some special coaching and some special training, being a young buck, having bright-eyed and bushy tail. And so I went along with him for a couple of days' ride, and he ended up revealing to me his commission check for that month, and it was huge. It was humongous. It was like $25,000 for a single month's worth of commission, and it took me back, and I realized there was more to the pest control industry than met the eye. And so I inevitably ended up just dropping out of college. I chose not to pursue that path, and got straight into the field and started working right away. 10 years later, here I am.
Definitely some motivation right there, making that much off a commission check.
Oh yeah, I wish I would have known how to get to that stage a little bit earlier in the game. That's for certain.
let's go ahead and do. Let's do some just personal, like what. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about like what hobbies you like? I know a big one that we tend to do a
Well,
lot.
yeah. So the concept of the podcast and the Discord group obviously is focused and centered around gaming. Me and Samantha actually met playing video games on a Conan server that I ran for some time. And if you've gotten to know me by now, then you know that several of my friends, family members, and close people either share video game or have moved here to the Houston area just because of the connections that we've made through video gaming. And so, consider me a nerd. I have pretty much all the consoles, and I think both between me and you, we have several thousand hours
Goodness,
put on our different profiles. But aside from that, I would say that my favorite hobby is camping. I do a lot of time in nature. Growing up in Oregon, we did a lot of camping, everything from tents to the full-blown glamping. And so nowadays, with our own travel trailer and truck, of course, I like trucking all over the United States and going to state parks and national parks and enjoying a little bit of nature.
Yeah, I would say that's probably another part of the interest in pest control, right? Is just this concept of the conservation, just caring for the creatures that bugs are,
Oh yeah, I've always been a wildlife fan, and growing up in the Great Northwest, we learn a lot about it. But I was your typical kid, turning over stones and picking up roly polies and playing with all kinds of bugs. And I've always shared a very close relationship with animals and dogs and pets. I've always had a house full of animals and pets. So yes, I am very comfortable being amongst the critters, and there's a certain passion I think that I've gained over the years that's caused me to fall in love and get to know and understand how nature works and how the different wildlife works, and I think that's kind of what helps me excel at my job.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. You've definitely taught me a lot, just being here on the sidelines, getting to know all the differences because of just how impactful that is. But, well, let's go ahead and jump kind of into the podcast itself, the community. Speaking of hobbies, obviously talked about the gaming and how big of a deal that impacted our life. But I think it transcends like the gaming. It's more like the community that was really important to us, and that we really dived into this concept of just connecting with people. And I know that's a really big deal and what prompted this along, but let's go ahead. Can you just elaborate on what did prompt the community? And
Well, if I could boil it down to one thing, it would really be one person, Sean Kassab. He's become a mentor of mine and a great friend throughout many of the years that I've done pest control. And I was very fortunate when I first got started. I was doing outside sales. As hard as I may, the wheels were spinning, and I just could not get any traction, and I couldn't figure it out. And I was starting to sink pretty fast. It was my first time being out on my own at 18 years old, trying to have my first apartment and such. And I actually met up with Sean several times because our routes overlapped, or our areas, our zones overlapped, and he could see that I was just out there, just trying and trying and trying, and I just and not taking no for an answer, but just wasn't able to get the seal the deal. And one day he told me he's like, "Why don't you come meet me up at lunch at Carl's Jr. and I'll tell you everything that I know about pest control. And if you've got a chance to know Sean, or Cora, as we call him in the Discord, he's a very, 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 very knowledgeable person. He spent years working for the DoD, doing vector control, and he's like a bookworm. He just he's like an encyclopedia.
So
Yeah, everything he ever touches, he just absorbs. And humbly, I had to actually almost turn that opportunity down because I couldn't afford that lunch. And he told me, he said, "You know what? Come with me. And if you're willing to listen to what I have to say, I'll buy you lunch every day. and teach you everything that I have to know. And I did. I honorably showed up every single day, and I told them, when I get my first real check, when I finally get, start to dig myself out of this situation, I'm going to get you a burger. I'm going to call you back. I'm going to get you a burger. And over the next couple of weeks, he proceeded to info dump me with more more information about pest control.
He's pretty good at doing that.
that anyone could ever ask for, and yet at the same time, I was asking for more and more and more. And so long story short, this podcast is to give back to the world everything that Sean gave to me. And if I can do to 1,000 people what Sean did for me, and just give that opportunity to teach and give that opportunity to connect with other people in the field, other technicians, and share information with the young bucks that are coming up, then that's exactly what I'd love to do.
Yeah, I think that's a really good goal. I think just from what I've seen, obviously being with you these last 5 years and watching you in your field, you can just tell how passionate you are about pest control. We mentioned earlier the conservation and the preservation of like the animals, right? And I can just see that you take that so seriously and your care for this. And one of the biggest things is I feel like you're such a good motivator when it comes to other pest control technicians. You constantly speak on pest control that, if you're just looking for a 9 to 5, pest control's good, but you always say, there's so much more to it, and there's so much more that it can give back, so much knowledge. You're not just the pest control guy, you're a chemical applicator. Like there is,
yes.
There's a purpose here. There's you're spraying around chemicals, there's a knowledge there, with the
Absolutely.
Chemistry and how it affects the pest. And I just know you're really passionate, and I know Sean really helped fuel that and such. And so
he really did change my perspective from feeling like just a general day laborer, someone that that people can just turn their nose up or kind of scoff at, and that maybe I deserve to accept that, and really change the perspective that no, we are a profession, that we are a trade skill, that we do work in public health, and we are out helping people who really do need help. And it kind of reminds us that between plumbing and germ theory and pest control through vector control has probably saved more human lives than just about anything else. And every year we get better and better at combating mosquitoes and the different diseases that are transmitted through rats and cockroaches and so many of the other pests. And so that opportunity to just take the industry serious, I think is what we need, a reminder that we are something worthwhile.
Yeah, I definitely, respect that. I think that's really amazing. So I do want to ask the next question, but I know part of it is, sharing that knowledge, just making pest control technicians, know that, like, if you want to be a day laborer, if this is just something you want to do, to get work done, that's fine. You can do that. Yeah, but I know part of this podcast, part of the reason is that hype. You want to call attention to and share the knowledge of pest control, right? I guess the next question is
why this is a worthwhile career.
Yeah, the next question really is, what prompted this? What's prompting this community? This, I know you kind of answered that, but the podcast and such. The reason why we're doing this whole community is to just level ourselves up, right? To upgrade the whole community, to provide some industry transparency, right? Amongst technicians, amongst pay, amongst everything, right? Everything from treatment methodologies and what's working, what's not working, really just building that camaraderie. And I think the more that we continue to take this serious, and the more that we continue to take our profession serious, the networking can grow. But also, I think as an industry, we can kind of shuck off that lasting halo of just being the quote unquote exterminator, and truly embrace that trade skill level recognition that we deserve. Yeah, Yeah, I definitely think that. I definitely think there's a lot there. And, well, of course, the next question that, I think everybody wants to know is about the name License to Kill. I mean, that's pretty, it's pretty gimmicky, but I think it's like in a good way. It's cool. It's like License to Kill. It's that 007 James Bond kind of secret agent thing, right? With the gaming, you're taking on that whole new element, and then License to Kill, like, yep, yeah, you are.
Yeah, we are in fact
one.
licensed to kill things. That is exactly correct. I have to give the credit, honestly, to Vertebreaker, my supervisor here in the Northwest Houston area. He's the one who came up with the wordplay. We just happened to be sitting around shooting ideas, trying to throw spaghetti against the wall to see what would fit. I kind of had a burst of creativity with the idea of the group. But definitely it was his wordplay that came through with it. And once I heard it, of course, it absolutely clicked. I mean, everything that makes sense, right? The 007 popular culture theme, the video gaming, and of course, the pest control, which I think is what has been the most popular aspect of the group. I really thought gaming was going to take over and become the center focus, but it just feels like you guys really want to know more about pest control, and that actually I think is the part that makes me most excited.
It definitely makes me excited, like as a bystander. I'm in the Discord, I'm a moderator, I help make sure everything's like running smoothly with bots and such, but I think that's really exciting to me, is to see some of our members get so excited to talk shop with with other members, other pest control technicians that are out on route. One of the biggest things that I've seen, and one of my favorite features, is the Field Shenanigans, which is a voice chat, kind of like a mega party chat call thing, where you're basically on the phone with like sometimes up to like 13, 15 other guys, or people, really people. I mean, there's, and that's
that
awesome.
has been the best part.
And it's not like, you're not always talking over each other either, right? Like there's a lot of like respect for people talking, a lot of like, it's amazing. Like you would think in a call that big, in a group that big, that like, oh, people would talk over each other, things get lost. And it's not to say that doesn't happen, but I mean, it's been managed like pretty well. That's pretty awesome to see.
Well, I think as pest control people, we can all share the feeling that the field can be very isolating at times and lonesome. You may have short interactions with customers, the meet and greet, the handshake when you walk out the door. But that opportunity to really get to hang out with your coworkers or talk around the water cooler doesn't really exist for us. And so I think there's just a kind of general camaraderie and a bit of understanding that if you hear someone talking to a customer for a moment, that instead of getting hung up because the line is filled with chatter, instead we make a game out of it and try to get the person to crack a smile while in the middle of talking to their customer. Yes. Or do some other kind of silly shenanigans just to pass the time and help everybody make a smile about the group.
Yeah, definitely have had some. I've been very fortunate to jump in a few times, just be a fly on the wall and get to hear some just really good information, just like, especially on the job, like anything from just like funny joking to like on the job.
And the quality of people that we've had come in. I mean, talk about new techs. Absolutely. Certainly there are new techs, but there have been some people who've come in with incredible credentials and some crazy backgrounds who've been able to let us know, what it's like and what they're doing, what pest control looks like in their part of the world or their part of the country. And to see that we've gotten not only a national audience, but now kind of a worldwide audience is starting to become incredibly insightful. And I really feel like I'm starting to learn so much about the full picture of this industry, and I genuinely feel like the people coming in and their backgrounds and all the expertise that they bring to the table is what's making this group so strong.
Oh, absolutely. We love our members across the pond. We've gotten some really good chats with them, and
shout out to Shofu with Pest Experience, and then shout out to Francis over there on the other side of the pond.
I was gonna say
those guys are definitely keeping it funny and keeping it going. And being very insightful.
Well, I think that kind of answers the next question, or at least a part of it. You know, of just like, well, what's been exciting about launching, you know, the community, the podcast, and all. Obviously, the camaraderie, the community, the field shenanigans is great. But anything else, you know, to elaborate on?
Well, for me, it's the networking. Personally, I've never done this much networking in my life, and I've never taken a chance to really appreciate the industry experts that are out there, the giants that have stood before me, whose shoulders I get to stand on, that allows us to see further, and getting a chance to just meet and talk to and interview so many people with incredible skills, incredible talents. That has been the exciting part for me. Definitely
Oh yeah.
the daily chit chats, the daily shenanigans. That's a lot of the fun. But I think the part that gets me most reared up and most going is the all the messages that I'm getting about, you know, people who are wanting to jump on the pod and get interviewed.
That's definitely really exciting. I've really enjoyed getting to see you light up at that. I know you're someone who gets really into information, really into things, and obviously pest control, right? For the last 10 years, like this is something you're really passionate about. You have a lot of knowledge. And so I've definitely enjoyed getting to see you converse, like you said, with some of these like really big names in the industry, you know, that are just have so much knowledge, and you as someone who values that, who takes in as much as you can all the time. I have loved seeing you get to see that too. I mean, that's great, you know. And so I'm really glad that that's happening. I'm really glad that we're getting to, you know, network with these people, and then they're so willing to come and talk to, you know, our members and
Oh yeah, and
stuff.
share, absolutely. I think that's been the part that has been the most surprising,
Yeah.
is the amount of people who've really been willing to come and just share the knowledge that they do have, and they're not gatekeeping, and they're not you know, trying to you know, safeguard any kind of information or whatever. I mean, it really has helped out that we've had a transparency amongst everyone, a general sense of you know, high tides raising everyone's boats.
Yeah, I really like that. You know, I think, like I said, like just even as a someone on the sidelines, you know, it's fun to see people light up. It's fun and you know, so good and positive to see people get so excited to talk about things they're passionate about. You know, you're doing this thing for, you know, 40 hours a week, if not more. You know, it's really enjoyable, even from my perspective, to get to see like you and some of the other people you're talking to. I know we've got a couple entomologists who really love
The
sharing like
debates, the
yeah, the
debates.
debates.
Come on now with the debates. We're hopefully we'll get a couple more of those going soon.
I was gonna say, yeah, those are private, exclusive, you know, LTK field shenanigans right now, but hopefully we'll be able to get some of those recorded. But yeah, like I said, even from the sidelines, it's just really fun to see that in action. It's fun to see people get so excited about learning, about really taking their career to the next level, just trying to get all that knowledge, you know. I mean, I definitely, and I think you agree with this, you know, you can never have enough knowledge. That's an invaluable resource.
No, and honestly, it's really easy to get into an echo chamber of your own biome, your own area, and just think that, you know, you're comfortably well suited with all the knowledge you need. And in reality, there's so many problems out there. There are so many different pests. There are so many different scenarios and situations, and you know, it changes from city to city, from culture to culture, from biome to biome. And then you start to throw in the regulations and, you know,
Yeah.
the different aspects that people do worldwide, and you really start to see that pest control is an incredibly diverse field. And it's not just the insects, you know. I mean, it's everything from aqua control. I mean, you're talking about aquatic control and fish and
Yeah.
rangeland and brush, and, you know, so many other things that
Yeah,
people just don't think
chemicals,
of.
you know, that are banned
Exactly.
in other places that just, you know, that just aren't allowed, and they have to use just like
Or not allowed here,
IPM and, you know,
but they're
other things.
commonly used on, you know, in
Yeah.
Africa and you know, or in Latin American countries.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've gotten to hear some about that from, you know, some of our members from there and such. And so yeah, it's definitely interesting. There's definitely a lot, like, you know, realizing, like you said, the different biomes, the different insects, the different treatment methods. Like that's all really fun to get to hear about. But anyways, let's go ahead and start kind of like wrapping this up a little bit. I do want to ask some just like fun questions that, you know, our audience members can kind of think of too, but that we can really, you know, have some fun little icebreakers kind of questions. So, which pest do you respect the most and why?
You know, I think the one that deserves the most respect is bed bugs. They're just
Really?
the toughest little bastards to get rid of.
That's fair.
And any pest control technician worth their salt will tell you that you got to have respect for the bed bugs or you will be getting callbacks.
Yeah.
If you're not thorough or if you're not, you know, knowledgeable about what you're doing out there, it's very easy to get callback after callback after callback or make the problem much worse.
Yeah, that makes sense. Those I've heard a lot about them recently. We had a really good talk about them. I think Brandon really prompted that along. And
yeah, if you ever want to know about bed bugs, there's a whole hour and a half long presentation telling you everything
really
there is
good,
to know.
Really good. So, well, what is one of your favorite pests to talk about?
Oh, yeah, the crazy ant.
Crazy ant?
The tawny crazy ant every day of the week. Most people don't deal with it. It's very unique to our area. It's exactly like it sounds, the crazy ant, right? They're a super colony ant. You don't hardly get to see those. They trail unlike anything else. They zigzag and they run around super fast. But the damage they can do, and of course, you know, the treatments should come with a very nice price tag. So it's a
it's a win-win-win situation.
It's a win-win for us, you know. But yeah, those are always the most exciting when you see them in the field. And also definitely the most unique to our side of the town, I guess I would say, our neck of the woods.
Yeah. Okay. What's your biggest on-the-job pet peeve?
When other people use your equipment. Gosh.
Oh, really?
I think everybody can relate to that. You have your truck, you have your sprayers, you have your equipment just the way it's supposed to be. You have your GPS. And if you've ever had to share your truck or if someone's ever had to take your truck for whatever reason and they come back and your GPS icon is changed and your backpack is all messed up and your straps are different and everything just feels off. And for whatever reason, it feels like it takes 2-3 days to acclimate to that. And you feel like you never find some things ever again. Like they just get lost to the ether.
Oh my goodness. If pests could talk, which one do you think would be the most annoying to have a conversation with?
Squirrels.
Squirrels!
Squirrels have been the bane of my existence some seasons. In the attics of houses in our area, oh my goodness, squirrels by far. I feel like they chitter, they run, they're always playing games, and I don't know if they're violent or not, but they just feel like they'd be the most annoying creatures in the world to talk to.
That's so funny. You forget sometimes. Yep, those are little pests sometimes.
Oh
Yep,
yes, absolutely.
That's valid. On opposed to that, if you had to pick one to be completely eradicated forever, which one would you probably choose?
Well, most pest control technicians wouldn't be too happy to hear it, but I would say the fire ant.
Oh, really?
They're an invasive species. They were never supposed to be here, and they've taken over the entire continent. They're the number one pest in the industry. They are, I think, account for the most for dollars for treatment. And so even though they're a huge moneymaker and people make a killing off of them, they're not supposed to be here. And we have utterly failed at controlling them. We were supposed to stop them, make the line, and they have just continued to creep north and north and north. It does not seem like there's anything we can do about it. So that problem is way outside of pest control operator hands.
Yeah, well, that's a good response. You know, a lot of time, you know, you hear, you know, every pest has its place. And it's like, no, yep. Not them. Get rid of them.
Not on this continent, they know.
Well, what is usually like your go-to response when people freak out over a bug? I mean, how do you handle that?
Honestly, I try and show a lot of compassion for when people show a phobia for bugs.
Yeah,
My
take an empathetic approach.
Yeah, I tend to take a pretty empathetic approach. They're the reason why we're out here getting paid to do what we do, right? And we're helping people, we're alleviating both fears, and we're doing a public health safety, a public health thing. But mostly, my mother had some pretty big issues dealing with pests as I was growing up. She ended up getting fleas, and you'd be surprised, but when you do end up with a pest in your home, it removes your sanctuary. And she was already an insomniac person, had issues with sleeping, and it basically just whittled away her sanity in a matter of like 72 hours, right? I mean, when you can't sleep, when you can't be comfortable in your own home. And so after like 3 weeks of dealing with fleas in our home, I remember coming home as a kid to the frantic, the panic, the obsessive, cleaning, and try as we may have been doing everything, we were doing everything wrong. And so, regardless, I still remember what that was like, and how much the pest control guy that came and helped us did help us, and it did offer us help, alleviation. It gave my mom peace, gave our family peace, and restored our home. So to this day, anytime I come across someone who's really worked up or really freaked out, I tend to take a pretty empathetic approach and just offer them that reassurance that, hey, I'm here, I've done this a million times, I can take care of this, and you can be comfortable now, like you can have your peace again.
Yeah, I think, as an exterminator's wife, I take for granted the luxury of not having to deal with pests too often, but I definitely think that's also a part of the job, that isn't always talked about, is, the superhero role, right? Getting to show up and give people back that peace of mind. I think that's really important too. I think you've talked a lot about that previously, about how that means a lot to you. That really makes the job more than just a 9 to 5. It makes it it makes it a passion.
Absolutely.
It really allows you to have a good feeling and do good for the world, like in your own way. I think that's important.
Our cape might be small, but we're still wearing our cape nonetheless, right?
Yeah. Well, let's do some like hypotheticals. Like, what? If there was a horror movie made about a pest infestation, which pest do you think would make like the scariest villain?
Spiders already take the cake, right? Aren't they around every single holiday?
I think
Halloween,
there's like so many
of spider
movies.
Yeah. They're just they've got everything freaky about them, right? The 2 extra legs,
I don't like
the
them.
venom, the webs. The bites, the whole aspect of it. I think that's the part. I think that would definitely still be the number one scary pest out there.
Yeah, fair enough. No wonder they've made so many movies and all the movies do so well. It's like, because everybody's like, oh yeah, this movie, this will be scary.
Yeah.
Well, speaking down that same kind of line, what's the most? Can you think of like one of the most unrealistic portrayals of a pest you've seen in a movie or TV show?
I don't know, probably like the ants in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or something.
Really?
Something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's not a lot of entomologists on the movie sets,
Not back then, at least.
Yeah. Well, was there ever a time that you've been outsmarted by a pest? Like, can you think of any examples of that?
That I'll admit publicly? No. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, definitely one time I got terrorized by a squirrel.
Oh, okay, we're going back to that. This is where this comes from.
The squirrel in the attic definitely I mean, I've dealt with many squirrels, but I'm thinking of the squirrel in the attic. This particular lady had bird feeders, and their whole family was like obsessed with.
Oh, is this the one where they like kind of made it into like a pet almost?
Yes,
That they would,
and they like did not want to harm the squirrel, but they also didn't want to trap the squirrel, and we were trying to exclude the squirrel, but it was just a very complicated situation. It took a bunch of follow-up visits to get it done.
I was gonna say, what did you end up using like as a method to finally?
There's a cage that you can strap on the exterior of like damaged holes or entry points, something like that. That kind of is a one-way cage. So we were able to finally get secured and they kept damaging spots, but we were able to finally exclude them from the building, and using a little bit of predator urine and some proper squirrel traps. Then I think it ended up finally being resolved.
I definitely remember you making those multiple visits. I definitely remember that story. Well, let's go ahead and just throw out some, like, would you rather, the audience can kind of think about that as well as we can get your answer. Would you rather have a pet-sized termite colony that follows you around or a single bed bug that you can never catch?
Definitely the termite colony. I think earlier, if you respect bed bugs, then all it takes is just one.
Oh, yes, yep. Fair enough. I think, that question.
And then I could never catch
itself.
it. Talk about a hit to the ego. You're telling me I could never get the one bug?
That definitely puts a damper on the whole.
I don't know if I'd be able to sell my services as a professional.
Alright. And then another one's, would you rather fight one horse-sized ant or 100 ant-sized rats?
So I'm going to answer this one, and then I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, I would rather fight one horse-sized ant. And that's going to lead me into a very famous conversation that I've had with many of our members at LTK, which is my famous conspiracy theory that we as pest control technicians used to be held much higher in regard in social status, right? It used to go king and queen, and then, like dukes, princes, and then knights, right? The knights were out there slaying the dragons, right? And what is a dragon slayer anything more than a pest, right? The pest exterminator who's dealing with the poor townsfolks. They're being pestered by this monster in the woods or some dragon in the hill, and they go there and they using their tools for the day, whether it's a B&G can or a two-handed claymore sword. They eradicated the problem, and they come back and they're the heroes of the town. And so obviously, we as pest control guys, we did so good for so long. We got rid of all the dragons, and we fought back all the lions and tigers and bears. And so now all we're left with is just the pest control of the insects and the rats. We've fallen from our stature of our once high glory.
Yes,
clearly. So,
but talk about job security. I mean, we've been doing this for thousands of years.
Thousands of years.
It used to be dragons. Now it's in Florida. It's iguanas. And those.
What is it? Crocodiles and alligators showing up in pools and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, somebody somewhere is still getting some recognition. So we can at least.
Yeah, maybe not claymore swords anymore, but a good net.
A snare.
A snare.
So I definitely would rather fight the horse-sized ant. Being here in Texas, I'm pretty sure there's enough arsenal around here to take something down. I'll find me something.
Comparable to that claymore, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That two-handed sword.
That's right.
Yeah, and what is a pest but a creature that has, what is it?
That's in an area that it's not supposed to be.
Exactly, right? Dragons, they just kept encroaching on the kingdom.
On the towns, exactly. And the village folks, That's it. It's not that we're anti-dragon, we're just anti being pestered.
Exactly. Can't fault them for that. Yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense there. Well, let's go ahead and finish this up and just with a pretty simple little question. And that's if you had to explain your job to a 5-year-old using only 3 words, what would they be?
I kill bugs.
Oh, that's a good yes. There you go.
Thanks for tuning into the Licensed Skill Podcast. We hope you found today's episode helpful, informative, and engaging. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe to your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. It really helps us to reach more listeners like you. Have a question or a topic that you'd like us to cover in a future episode? Connect with us through our Facebook, YouTube, and most importantly, our Discord. Until next time, this is your host, Marcus, reminding you to stay sharp, stay legendary, stay connected.